The Moreness Show with hosts Syl and Beena is about to bring depth and value into your life.
So welcome to Moreness-Culture, Syl. This is our topic, so let's start saying that. Welcome to the Moreness Show.
Wonderful. Thank you, Beena. Thank you. Welcome as well. It seems a bit odd welcoming a co-host, but, in the interest of politeness, and welcome to everybody else. We're very thrilled to be here, and we're very thrilled to whoever is here with us. Well, very, very happy to be here. And what we're going to be sharing today, as this is our first show, we're treating it somewhat, we're testing, we do lives and we do other shows, but this is the first time on our own. So we're going to be sharing our journey to the Moreness Show, not just to our personal journeys, but also the journey of how we actually specifically came to be doing this particular show. And we'll share on that. So Beena, let's start with you in terms of way back when, at least in our journey together, how did we come to be connected? Can you share that for us, please?
Yes. Okay, it's a long story, but I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. So something happened in my life. I was doing my career, and it was like, okay, a very ambitious girl, and I was getting opportunities from the corporate sectors and all that. And it was a big deal for me at that time. But something happened. Universe just in its peculiar way did something wonderful to me. Now I can say it wonderful. And at that time, it was very devastating. Everything was actually snatched away from me. And I was completely clueless that what is going on. And I just say that okay, yes, what I'm going to do now. And I was completely isolated. And then something happened again. And in a wonderful way, I came to Facebook and made a lot of huge friends. But they were wonderful. And I was doing nothing. And then one of my friends suggested something that, okay, Beena, you must go out of your room and do something. And I was doing that too. That moment, again, it was temporary. And the day it was ended, and I was again clueless, completely clueless that what I'm going to do now, because universe was just pushing me and I was just following that. And that one fine day kind of a story, I found an ad on my Facebook newsfeed. And this ad was from Syl Sabastian. We were not friends. We were not Facebook friends. I don't know about how this ad came into my newsfeed. And I read that. And at that time, I had no idea of what philosophy is actually. But I just read his ad, and they were asking that we are looking for post-beta tester for some program. And because I was clueless, because I had nothing in my hand, I just said, okay, let's try that, whatever it is. Because even though I was clueless, but even with the words, you can feel that moreness. Subconsciously, my mind was aware. There is more. So I just prompted and I said yes. But it was financially, it was almost impossible for me to pursue that. And I said, yes, I would love to, but I cannot. And then Syl respond to that immediately. It was an immediate response. Everything was really going magically. And he says that, yes, there are many ways to fry a pancake. And then he suggested that, okay, you can do this course because I'm looking for post-beta testers. And you can pay by sharing your journey.
Yeah.
And I said, oh yeah, that's wonderful. And first meeting was 3 hours long. And at that time, I was having that Chromebook, which was really just a phone, and doing Zoom meeting with him was a terrible experience for me. Terrible in the sense that
there was no connectivity. That's right. Yes. It kept dropping and dropping and dropping.
And it was, yes. And I was not getting, I had no clue about Zoom also. So a lot of unawareness from my side. But what happened suddenly that, okay, I started paying attention to his patients. And he has he called himself that I have ridiculous patients, which I don't like. But actually, in reality,
it's true.
He have this. And he was exhibiting, he was practicing that ridiculous patience level. Because even though I was about to throw out my Chromebook out of window, but he was persisting. And that was holding me, that how in this world one can have this level of patience. Not just like, yes, I'm tolerating. No, but he was enjoying it.
Yes.
Enjoying every moment of it. And for 3 hours, I was just listening and trying to connect. And that was the real hook for me. That someone not only just saying things, but also practicing it. So that was our first meeting. And this is the
Wonderful.
start of Way of Impeccability.
Yes. Yes. And that brings up a really good point. Venus talking about
Yes.
patience. And patience is something that needs to be learned and applied. And now, I thought about this a lot. And Beena and I discussed this. So we're going to be doing the Moreness Show. Obviously, it's about Moreness, and it's also about Moreness-Culture. Next week, we are going to go into detail about what exactly Moreness is and what Moreness-Culture is. This week, we're discussing our journey. And the reason why we holding it over until next week is that we want to make sure that this week we understand what's going on. It's a bit of practice involved because it's a new producer, a little bit different, so everything different, right? And we have to, you're learning as we go along. And that's the key point that I want to bring up with Beena talking about patience, because it connects to applying, applicability, putting things into action, actually doing. And now the question is that Beena and I discussed at length. What's in it for you? What's in it for the viewer of the show? We know what's in it for us. We have a blast doing this. We really enjoy doing this. And the kind of conversation and discussion Beena and I do anyway, every day. We come on Zoom together, whether we live or not. That's why we ended up going live. We do lives on Facebook all the time. Now, the lives on Facebook, they have a different focus than here. However, our focus here is primarily, first and foremost, to have fun and joy and to share all the moreness that is in our lives. And there are tons of moreness in our lives, right, Beena? Every day,
Yes,
lots and lots
absolutely,
of it. Right?
absolutely.
The key point I want to make, though, is that what we're going to be sharing is not beliefs. First of all, we're going to be primarily sharing self-evident sensibilities, and we're going to be sharing techniques and methods and understandings and awareness. All of it, always, always, always connected to application, to doing, to being able to apply, right? That's the goal. That's the point, application. Because without application, it's all meaningless. You'll hear us say this over and over and over. You see, Beena already, she fills in the rest there. It's almost like a mantra for us, right? It's like a catchphrase, right? Without application, it's all meaningless. So what's in it for the viewer? We're going to be sharing those methods and techniques and understandings and tools, which you can apply in your life to bring moreness into your life. And we're going to talk much, obviously, about what moreness is. And the magic of moreness is, Beena?
Yes, always having a value, yes.
There's always more. Exactly, right? So with moreness, there's always more. It never ends. We're going to really be shifting into a new world, a new paradigm, a new way of thinking, a new way of living, and new ways of being, which are very, very different to what we've been taught, what we grow up with, what we see around us, because we're going to be jumping into this moreness, right? With this understanding about application, right? And that's it. Moreness makes our lives more fun, richer, deeper, right? This is it. It's enhanced. It's growth. It's like, oh my goodness, I never knew that was there. Plus, wow, I never really thought about that. Or, I always thought that was kind of impossible, but now I realize it isn't. So, Beena, let me ask you, how much of the impossible have you experienced that you never believed that to be possible?
Many times.
Exactly.
Every single day.
Exactly.
Every single day.
Exactly.
I had no idea what moreness is. I had no idea what philosophy is.
Exactly.
I had no idea what actually personal growth and learning is.
Yeah.
And so many other things. Yes.
And we're going to be bringing on guests in the future. One of our early guests is going to be one of the participants of the program that we run. It's our life change and a self-change program. We'll be talking lots about. It's called Way-of-Impeccability. We'll be talking much about that too. Because in the Moreness doesn't exist in a vacuum, at least not our Moreness, right? The Moreness we're going to be talking about. There's much to support our Moreness. In particular, Way-of-Impeccability, which is, as I said, it's a self-change and a life change program. It's available to anybody, and likely we're going to be doing group participation, which will open up to viewers. Not right now, but later. And now this is not all there is. There's more. There are others. We'll discuss the foundations, the core, the building blocks, the support that is Moreness and Moreness-Culture. Because, Moreness is its own thing, and Moreness-Culture is what we've created. It is our particular application of Moreness, the way we put it into action. And since we've been at this for a long time, and some of us our whole lives, there's a lot of depth to it. So, Beena, just share about, in terms of what it is for the viewer, in terms of, you were saying earlier to me, in terms of what's in it for them. You were saying to be their own.
Own motivation, your own inspiration, to be your own guru, to be your own life coach, and to be your own guide. Why I'm saying that? Because I have experienced that, not only with myself, but also of many participants. And Moreness-Culture is the materialization of the Moreness we are having right now. And this show also, the Moreness Show, is also the materialization that we are ending up here. We are sharing all these things. I have experienced that with many participants of the Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness programs, that the life change is just happened, not in a virtual way, but of course within them. And also that they are not going to be dependent on us. No, not at all. Not from the very beginning. From the first day, they become independent and they become their own guru. They choose, I'm saying that they choose what they really found valuable. And of course, Moreness. Moreness is about actually extracting value from the mundane. And of course, with the ordinary, where you feel that, things are not wonderful, not good. So it improves, it actually covers every aspect of your life. Moreness is about, of course, your relationship, improving your relationship with yourself, with others, and with the universe.
Yes, especially with yourself. When Beena was saying to be your own life coach, your own inspiration, but that's very key, to be your own inspiration. When you are inspired by yourself, in addition, with Moreness, you'll come to surprise yourself. And that is incredible. See how Beena reacts to that. It's like when you truly are, oh my goodness, that's really awesome that I did that. That's really cool that I did that. And this is a great joy, because you realize there's more, capital M, more to you. And you're going to hear us use this term, capital M this, capital R this, capital U, whatever, right? Why do we do that? Because, for instance, with, say, capital T, trust. When we get into this, and we'll discuss later in all of the building blocks that comprise Moreness-Culture, like the dictionary of power and the language of conceptuality, right? So in that, we distinguish, we discern, we make a difference between regular trust and capital T trust. And we'll go into that. We'll probably do a whole show on capital T trust, because it's a huge topic. It comes up all of the time. And so when we are doing this capital T trust, we are letting you know that, yes, it's based on trust, the regular trust, but we're going further, we're going deeper. And when you kind of think it through, right? It's that thinking it through to the end. And you'll hear me say that very often.
Yes, to the end. And we will have a short break. And then after the break, we will come back again.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorick, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorick has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back. Yes, welcome back to the
Yes.
Moreness Show. I must call that like the two besties show because me and Syl, we are now really, I can say that, okay, we are besties. But Syl, before we go into detail of the Moreness and the Moreness culture, I want to ask you that, okay, how we ended up here on the Moreness
Well,
Show.
that's next week. That's next week, the Moreness and the Moreness culture. We have a little bit of a cliffhanger. We've got lots to share today. So how did we come to be here? Well, me and my bestie over there, and by the way, we're in different places in the world. We're not, even though we went to great lengths and pains to have a background and match them where we are together, right? We like that. We like that very much. A little bit of moreness for us there. And there's actually a story behind the background, but we'll share that another time. A lot of story. Anyway, how did we come to be at the show? So me and Bestie Beena, which sounds very good, Bestie Beena. I don't think I've ever called you that, before. Anyway, we've been doing lives on Facebook because we do this ourselves. When Beena came and first joined and became a beta tester of Way-of-Impeccability, what's involved with that is coming onto Zoom twice a week, and it's very intensive. It's for 2 hours each time, so 4 hours a week, and you've got to do repeat backs and takeaways and thoughts and exercise. There's a lot involved. But, after we're going for a while, when I was like, man, Beena's really into this, and Beena shares my passion for learning and growing. It's not just a passion, it's almost a need in us, right? And so I said to Beena, you're welcome to just come every day. You don't have to wait twice a week. And Beena jumped on this, right? Beena grabbed it with both hands, to the extent that her friends and family, those who knew what was going on, because Beena very open. Beena shares everything. Beena has a wonderful, wonderful family, very Moreness family. They said, but Beena, aren't you taking advantage of Syl? And Beena said, no. Well, actually, he didn't say no. She said, yes, of course I am. I'm going to take this with
very shamelessly, yes.
Yes, you're very unashamedly, yes, very consciously going to take advantage of this. So now we are doing this and we're sharing every day. But, then we got into, a business together that we do because we have a lot of things going on, and books and shows and all this stuff. But there's also the business side of things. And when we're doing that, we said, we're getting less time to sort of chat. I mean, well, why don't we just do we make a live every day, and that way we'll definitely be connecting with each other every day and sharing the moreness, right? Because we can't be talking business stuff if we're doing a live. So that was a way of making sure that we continue that, because otherwise things can easily get distorted. So we're making a special time. And in the lives that we do on Facebook, we do them every day except on Saturdays. We are typically doing capital R readings. And we've done a bunch of them. And right now we're involved in a very long project. It will likely take us a couple of years. And the capital R readings are us going into real depth and detail. We aren't just reading what the words say. We are reading what they imply, what they might mean, what they connect to in us, what they bring out in us, what they what they bring in terms of our imagination, our connectivity, our understanding, what makes us jump more. And what we also bring to it is our own moreness. Because sometimes the author says something and, well, we have made a great amount of effort, right, Beena, in terms of
Yes.
exploring conceptions, understandings, and moreness. So very often we can take the conception that the author's saying and take it further. Because we've done this already.
Yes.
And we have the skill, we
Yes.
have this ability, we have much moreness that we bring to the party, as it were, and we share that moreness. Plus, in some of the books, like the one we're reading now, it's a long series. And it
Yes.
was around more or less in the beginning of the series. But the culture from when it was first published, I'm aware of that culture. And the books, the early books, they had a great cultural connectivity, which we might forget now, the culture of the 60s and the 70s. We may forget that now, especially, the younger generation. We don't remember it so much, or we don't know, we're not aware of it. But that culture is very important. So when you bring the cultural aspects of it, and even when we read Musashi's Book of Five Rings, because of various things I've done in my life, I have an awareness of the cultural environment that Musashi existed in. And when you bring this into bearing, it adds a great depth, right, Beena? So I'm saying that our capital R readings are all about bringing moreness, and we exemplifying moreness, we showing moreness, and we are applying our own moreness, and we're doing so much. Sometimes there's so much moreness. We may, in an hour or even 2 hours, read only a paragraph. Yeah, and then the rest is all discussion.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And we're not bound.
But I'm surprised that you didn't mention the word intent here.
Oh,
Because
there's so
we
much.
don't
There's
only,
so much.
yes, we don't only
Yeah.
just read beyond the words, but we also connect with
Correct.
the intent.
Correct.
And also
Correct.
they'll always provide the cultural and historical context of all those things.
Yes. Yes.
What time when they were writing, what actually was happening? Was it new?
Yes.
Maybe not
Yes.
new now,
Yes.
but at what is happening, which provides
Yes.
amazing, tremendous value. And also about the moreness. We don't
Yes.
only look for moreness. We
Yes.
have this ability, we acquire this ability to extract value, even if it is not obviously existing there.
Yes.
This is a big,
Yes.
huge deal, Syl. And you must mention that. And what
Yes.
you just said very slightly, and you just move on to that you have this ability, how you acquire this ability to provide cultural context and historical context and or
Oh,
personal.
I'll answer that in a second. Great question, Beena. Great question. But
Yes.
Beena, you did bring up about intent. Yes.
Yes.
Intent is a crucial key conception. And as we go along, I would recommend, right, if you're watching this and you're coming as a regular, and we'll remind you this, to start making your own dictionary of power. I've already mentioned a few terms, moreness, obviously, one of them, way of impeccability or impeccability, but and capital T trust, but also intent. There's a massive power and potency to intent. And part of our moreness culture, part of way of impeccability, part of our training is to pay attention to intent, always, right? And we ask this, what is our intent in the show? Our intent is to have fun and joy. Yes, that's our key intent, yes? To really enjoy ourselves. Because if we're not enjoying ourselves, doesn't matter what the content we're sharing is going to be miserable, right? And our intent is obviously more than that. We are intending to share. We're not intending to teach, we're intending to share. Because when you teach, this is something that you kind of, but at least in our way of thinking, it is that we're asking people to believe us. No, we don't want you to believe us. We want to share things that are self-evident so you can put it together. And this is very key. So our intent is multifold. Plus, our intent is to share that which is valuable and useful, that which you can apply. Always, because this is our personal intent, right? So we're sharing our personal intents, becoming intent for everyone. Also, just real quick, we'll go into it another time, but there is a big difference between intent and intention, and we make that difference, right? We really focus on that to understand that.
Yes.
So that's part of what we do. ADU, awareness, discernment, understanding, leading to application. Very, very important. All right, so Beena said, how did I come to know about the context? Well, when I was a boy and a young man, right? I started at age 10. It's in my bio. the day the light bulb exploded. This was a very big day, and it's a fun story, which I'll tell at another time, but I don't think we'll have time for everything if we're going to long stories. So it's a story on hold, right? This incident that happened, a very, very significant experience and a memorable event. And those two terms also in my dictionary of power, as we'll go into those, they are very meaningful to make a big difference. At any rate, that day started me on a journey into unawareness, or specifically, what is awareness? And I had to define awareness. I had to figure out what awareness is. But really, it's also a journey of me dealing with my unawareness. At that age 10, even though I might have been a little bit more aware than my mates, which I was horrified at how unaware they were, but I was equally horrified at my own unawareness. Well, seriously, because we'd get canings back in that day still, right? And, when you're unaware, you get a caning, or you can easily get into trouble, right? You didn't mean to do it, but you do stupid stuff, you're unaware, and you get a caning. So, canings some got canings every day for the same things. I'm like, really? Seriously? So my own unawareness too, where I like, oh my goodness, I nearly did I managed to stay out of trouble pretty well, in all my schooling. So I only got 2 canings in all of the 12 years, which was quite a record, I got to tell you. Yeah. Anyway, at least in the context, there were some maybe who didn't go without, but I wasn't exactly a goody two shoes. Let's put it that way. Not that I'm proud of being naughty, but I wasn't conformist to that extent as either. Anyhow, so now where does context come into this? So I started reading around about age 11, and I read at least 1 book every day, sometimes 2 books a day. But I also did sports and other things, so I wasn't just reading all the time. But in the reading, I very much paid attention to contextual understanding. Where I got this idea from, I had no idea, because I never spoke to anybody about my reading. I had my social side and my private side, and that's another wonderful long story, which we'll again share at another time. So in my reading, I was in my own bubble, in my private self. And here's the key point. When I came to something that I didn't quite understand, I made the effort to figure it out from context, because I had nobody to ask. I had no point of reference. There was no internet. I couldn't go look it up. Nothing. So I was completely reliant on myself and myself only to come to understanding. And I had to figure that out from the story, from the context. Yeah? And I practiced this. And here's the key. I would not continue reading until I'd figured it out to my satisfaction. And then just, okay, whatever, and continue reading. Right? So that means I had to read a bit back. I had to look at implications. I look at consequence. I had to extrapolate. I had to do all sorts of things to figure it out from context. Look at the intent of the writing, right? Now, at that time, I didn't necessarily use these words like intent and extrapolation. Those came a little bit later. But I did understand context. And context, by the way, in that early age, when this concept came to me, there was a visual that came along with it. It was a very profound experience, right? Context was a very big deal. Not only that, I would also figure out words, individual words. And I never continued. If I came to a new word that I didn't understand, because I was reading adult books, I just skipped over the teenage children's books. They were like, no, come on, seriously, this stuff is just lame, Anyway, when I came to a word I did not understand, I also may first try to look it up in context, because just looking it up in the dictionary, I discovered wasn't always the best, because the writer's not always using it strictly according to the dictionary definition. Furthermore, I discovered, much to my amazement and to my brother's horror, that the dictionary is not always correct. And I said this to my brother, and he was greatly upset by this. Who the heck are you to say the dictionary is not always correct? Well, actually, I told him the dictionary in one particular case was flat out wrong. Oh, he was very upset at me for being so arrogant. But here's the problem with dictionaries. They have limited space. And when you're dealing with a complex conception, like intent or impeccability or any of these concepts, to really explain what it is in detail, it's pages and pages sometimes, right? You can even write a book on some of these things. The dictionary simply doesn't have the space. So they have to make an approximation, more or less. What I did find, which gave me a better understanding of conceptions and terms, was the thesaurus. Because when you looked at all of the different entries, you got that greater overview. But all this led up to answering Beena's question. What is it? How did I come to understand context? From practice. from practice because I understood the value of that. Now, just to make one more comment here before we move on, I don't want to keep too long on this point, and that is that context helped me tremendously in my survival, my actual daily physical survival. See, practical applicability. Always the practical applicability was key to me. Bullying was a big factor. And I had a brother that was 4 years older than me, and, all of his mates, you, the little one, and, I guess I had a bit of a big mouth sometimes, and so when you're a bit of a bright spark and you got stuff to say, well, that makes you a target, right? So I was always targeted because they noticed me, they were aware of me. And so I had to have strategies to take care of that. And understanding the greater context when it comes to bullies helped me to deal with them, right? So I'll go into detail in some of these stories. We've got lots and lots of stories to share, and there's always a reason for it. They aren't just interesting. Yes. Go ahead, Beena.
Yes, we have tons of stories, but what you mentioned something very interesting here, because when you say that your brother was upset and he thinks that you were an arrogant.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the problem is when you have moreness. And this is where you can understand that when you are more than what are the expectations, what are the mundane, what is the average, then sometimes you get a problem. Even if it is not a physical threat or psychological, emotional threat, but it's still people label you and try to limit you because his desperation was like, no, he was not, because he didn't have that idea of moreness, so he was just labeled you that arrogant. That was a lack of awareness also, and lack of understanding of moreness.
Exactly.
And we still deal with this thing every single day.
Yes. And here's the key understanding. My brother was in a bubble, the bubble of subscribing to convention. The dictionary, this is an authority. How can you question authority? Right?
Exactly.
And if you think about that, and like I said, when you explain a bit more, the dictionary on complex terms is likely to be incorrect. It's not that they are completely wrong. Well, in this case, it came to the term selfishness. And I said that true selfishness, what we understand to be selfish. All right, let's say, for the example, we were kids then. I have a bag of sweets and all my friends are hanging out and I eat the sweets and don't share with anybody, right? That would be considered selfish. But I said to my brother, how is that to my benefit? All my friends I'm going to lose all my friends. They're going to think I'm a jerk and an idiot, right? And just not nice. And they'll stop being my friends. I may gain the benefit of eating the sweets, but I lose all my friends. In the bigger picture, in the greater context, I lose out. So my action is not to my benefit, which is the definition of selfish. It's to my detriment. So therefore, any action which is to your detriment, right, in the longer term, but in the short-term benefit, but if it's overall to your detriment, then that is not to your benefit. Therefore, what we typically see as selfish is not actually so. So selfishness is actually the reverse. If you are truly selfish, you are going to be doing good things, not bad things, right? You're going to be positive, right? So this I tried to explain to my brother. Right. I tried to explain to my brother that the dictionary is actually wrong in this case, not just not fully accurate, not just incomplete, which like I said, for concept, but boy, this just did not stick with him. I mean, we know what surprised me, and that's why it sticks in my memory. He was genuinely upset and annoyed, and really, truly bothered. He was angry. He was angry at this. How dare I? And I've experienced this other times too. I was playing golf with a theology professor and sharing things with him. And again, how dare I? He didn't question what I was sharing because he couldn't. So all he could do was come personally at me, right? And this is what Beena is saying. Sometimes when you share a moreness, and this is part of what we're going to share later on, capital D diplomacy. We have to understand that sometimes our moreness can make others feel less, and we want to be careful of that, right? But this is where Moreness-Culture comes into it, which brings me to our next point, yes, about community.
This is so wonderful that you mentioned that this is why we need the Moreness-Culture. Moreness-Culture is a materialization of the moreness idea. And what you are mentioning here, it is actually explaining in a very, very wonderful way that what moreness is about and what moreness is and what actually the conventional mindset is, which you call, of course, superiority paradigm. We will discuss this in more detail because you bring such a wonderful concept here that being selfish is actually good.
Yes.
It's a capital
Yes.
selfish. And this is so profound. And we are going to get into detail. I want to ask you more about all
so
these
selfishness is positive if fully applied. You got to take it all the way, right? That's the criteria, right? In short term, you may have, but not longer term, different, right? So it all depends on the context.
This is what exactly, even when I was not aware of it, I applied that. Yes, I am grabbing this opportunity. I'm not going to let it go. I'm taking full advantage of it because I was being selfish.
Correct.
Selfish in a Moreness way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
Very
and
exciting.
that's so wonderful. So
very
wonderful.
Exciting. So Beena was saying about coming to the show. And I want to just add one more point to the intent that we have, right? And this was my intent to start my Facebook group, and got a huge, big Facebook group. It's abbreviated as SASI, SASI, which stands for Self-Awareness, Self-Improvement. And then the full name of the group is Self-Awareness, Self-Improvement. We are back. Brilliant. We had a technical issue there.
Welcome back to the Moreness Show.
Yeah,
and Syl, you are going to continue what you were saying because that was found.
Yes. So, well, I just wanted to say, our Zoom crashed, well, at least not ours, on the other side. So anyway, stuff happens, right? Technical issues, and they happen. But we're not put out about it. Why not? Because all of Moreness culture, everything that we do, it all comes from the application of this profound concept that's capital A, appropriateness. Now, capital A, appropriateness is going to do with proper. Capital A, appropriateness is dependent on context, because some things are appropriate in one context but not appropriate in another context. Likewise, the same thing could be appropriate depending on your goal. If you have this goal, it's appropriate. If you have that goal, it's not appropriate. So when you put the two together, appropriateness and context, you get to appropriateness, right? And when you have appropriateness that takes care of context in the overall, in your life context, and you add your life goals, your life objectives, your life intents to that, and now you're starting to say, what is appropriate in the context of my entire life? What is appropriate in context of the goals of my entire life? So we're taking both the time and the goals. Right? This is a huge shift. And the ability to be appropriate depends on our ability to be flexible, fluid, and to be adaptive. Yes, to be able to adapt. Hence, we come to adaptability. Right? We prize our adaptability. Yes, we prize.
I hope that everyone can feel and experience that you are having like a flood of so much wonderful and of course new stuff. I'm saying that it's not entirely new, but new in the context again. And because you are going to experience that, yes, it is going to be, people call it heavy stuff, it is deep. Yes, if you are into deep stuff, if you are into heavy stuff, so be our guest, because this is going to be, I was saying that to everyone that, this is not everyone's cup of tea, but actually it is. It is available for everyone. Not everyone is going to, because, sorry, but we are, as human, we love to be comfortable. We just love to be easy and relaxed. Yes. Because of course, human beings' natural state of awareness, the first experience we have in our mother's womb is just relaxing and floating, and we want to be in that state. But whenever something comes up with something which requires a bit of effort, a bit of work, it feels deep for us. It feels like, it's a heavy stuff. But without doing that, we will still be in that womb and just floating and not doing anything. So all you see and experience in this whole world, the manifestation, the materialization of human effort and hard work, you can see that we are having technology. It will not be there. We will not be communicating. We will not have the sophistication which we are experiencing in this world. So Syl is going to share, of course, because you are going to see that how much depth in it. But depth requires, really need a deep and true transformation.
Yes,
really
exactly.
Something more than what you are right now. So Syl, please continue. I was just adding up because I know that you are just flooding us with a lot of terms and of course,
yes. So as we go along to add to what Beena is, as we go along, to get full value out of what we're saying, yes, you have to apply it. But also, don't be put out if at first this doesn't quite make sense. Yes, because we know from experience, having done this over a long time, and when we do Way of Impeccability, we've had many participants, and we do that together. And initially, I did it on my own, of course, and then Beena became a co-facilitator of Way of Impeccability, because she was so into it, right? Now, when we do this, we know from experience that at first, like, oh, I don't quite get it. But as things persist, they fall into place. Some of the participants, years later, they will say, oh my goodness, you talked about this all those times, and now I get it, right? It's clicking. That's how our brains work. We don't always get it right away, but the brain stores it, and later on, at some point, it falls into place. Because there's a lot here. It's a culture. When you go to another country, and you want to learn that culture, right? Or, it doesn't have to be the national culture, it could be a subculture, it doesn't matter. It takes a long time, right? You may have lived there for a couple of years, and still there's new things in the culture. Even for people living in the culture all their lives, I didn't know about that, right? We can miss out things even in our own culture. So don't be put off when things don't connect at first. Plus, Beena mentioned
I have a question for you.
Yeah, I'll do a question for 1 second. I just want to mention this term heavy. We are going to reassociate our associations to understand that what we thought is difficult or heavy and awkward and uncomfortable, when you learn to be flexible, fluid, and adaptive, when you learn to enjoy learning and growing, that heaviness goes away and it becomes joy. Yeah?
Yes.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to transform the awkward and the uncomfortable into joy. And we're going to share plenty techniques and tools and methods and ways of doing, ways of being, ways of living that makes things joyful, right? It's our goal. It's our intent. Yeah, your question, Beena.
Yes. Okay, I just want to, because we mentioned that it is going to be heavy. It is going to be deep, because we need that. How it is going to be valuable and connected and relevant to a person, for example, someone who is just doing errands, and someone, a housewife cooking in her house, and dealing with all those mundane, daily, casual things, and doing chores. And also a teenager who is struggling with of course, themselves, their transformation, becoming an adult, and also the other world, like, okay, how people are, because they are struggling with the identity. And of course, a middle-aged man who is struggling with, of course, a changing world around him or around her, and also a person who has done everything in their life, and now sitting, relaxing, and chilling. How it is relevant to all those people. I am just using, for example, as variation. I can share as much as I can. So please do share how Way of Impeccability and Moreness is going to be valuable for them.
Wow. It is going to give you tools, because a Way of Impeccability, its subtitle is A Toolbox for Deliberate Living. That's huge. That's huge. But it's a toolbox, not a belief system. Please never, ever, ever believe us. Yeah, never. And we love questions, and we'll, as we go along, we don't have them open today, but we will always in the future be having our lines open, right, where people can phone in questions or send in questions, right? That's very important to us. We love questions, we love commentary, we're always responsive to them, whether we respond live or not. Like when we do lives in our group, we always respond to any comment that people make, right? We follow up later on, right? Maybe the next day or so on, but always follow up.
It doesn't have to be necessarily relevant to the topic.
Correct. Can be whatever's pressing in your heart. Correct.
But earnest. Only one condition.
That's it. That's it. We just ask that you're earnest. Earnest questions do something to us. They pull things from us that we can't easily access, but it brings that depth from us. Earnestness is a superpower. Again, earnestness, it goes in our dictionary of power. Very, very powerful conception. Okay. And I want to share on talking about conceptions, another intent as to
answer.
We do this.
Answer. I'm still waiting for the answer.
To which question?
Yes, how it is going to be connected with everyone, different people, different lifestyle.
Okay. Oh, sorry. That's what I was answering. I didn't realize I was answering the question. It's going to be connected because we are sharing, capital S sharing. And what is capital S sharing compared to regular sharing? There's no reciprocity. Yeah. Mostly when we share in life, you We tend to, because of the typical paradigm, which we'll talk about later on, as opposed to Moreness culture, Moreness paradigm, we tend to say, well, I've got to give back, I've got to reciprocate, right? But our sharing is completely free. What you do with it is up to you. We have no expectation whatsoever, no obligation whatsoever, completely and utterly free. Plus, our intent is to build community, a community of Moreness in the Moreness culture. And we're going to talk about what Moreness culture is. But right away, I'll just say, this is a community where there's no competition, there's no hierarchy, there's none of that. A community where sharing is encouraged, no matter what it is, right? And that's it. It doesn't matter. Sharing, connectivity, appreciation, right? Doesn't matter. You're appreciating somebody. And in our community, we are going to celebrate difference. Not just accept difference, acknowledge difference, or tolerate difference. No, we're going to celebrate difference. Yeah, because we're all different. We're all magically, marvelously, wonderfully different. Yes, and we love that. We love that. So this is part of our community, a community where anybody is welcome. Yes, you truly are welcome. And this is, again, there's no expectation from you, there's no obligation, there's no pressure, because there's no competition. You don't have to conform to certain things, you don't have to do things. There's no expectations, no obligations. That's actually my number one rule for relationships. Yeah, no expectations, no obligations. Very difficult to sometimes get out of the obligation part, but as much as you can. But especially the expectations. If you don't have expectations, you know, you're doing everything deliberately. You're doing everything because you want to, because you choose to. And when we get into deliberate living, everything is enhanced. You start living in Moreness. This is a huge deal. And community is a very big deal to us. We are very supportive of our community. We take it very seriously. It's a massive issue. Yes.
Thank you so much, Syl, for sharing, because, I'm going to just share it because I know that, Syl, where he is right now, he always see the bigger picture. Of course, the local also never lose the connection with the local also, but have more focus on the bigger picture. So I'm going to just share it in simple words that, how it is going to be relevant and connected and valuable for people who are struggling with daily life situations. Like you are struggling with your relationship. If you are struggling with your own understanding and awareness, if you are struggling with your career, if you are struggling in your education, if you are struggling with your health also. Of course, we are not health experts and no claim there, but awareness is the key. Awareness, if you are aware, if you practice impeccability, you will choose where you will get the
exactly. And you're going to have the tools. It's not just awareness, but it's also developing discernment, which is to see the layers, to see the complexity, to see what's below the surface. So don't just see the surface, because that's where people get into trouble. Isn't this what foolishness is about? Is that, I mean, what defines a fool is that they don't see past the duh, right? The obvious, the wrong kind of duh. We like the duh where the aha, oh, I really get it now. That's a good duh, but we don't want to just take the first thing. Oh, well, obviously so. No, right? We got to look a bit further.
Again, I will emphasize on that we have impeccability and Moreness culture. It's not just about philosophizing all the concept.
No, it's about application.
About the practicality and application, and it is relevant to our mundane life situation. It is relevant to our generation things. It is relevant to our household life things, like, what we are doing, how we are doing, because it enables us to even extract more than what is expected.
Exactly.
And this is such a wonderful thing, because it is going to not only transform your relationship with others. Again, I would say that, I'm repeating that, it is going to improve your relationship with yourself. And your relationship with the universe.
Yes, and we're going to get very sophisticated as part of Moreness culture. And an alternative name for Way-of-Impeccability is the language of conceptuality. We have, and we've put together this entire language. Yes, it's using English, but it can be applied in any language, not just English, called the language of conceptuality. We're learning to conceptualize. And when you do this, it's transformative. Because language and self-growth, self-identity, how we are very intimately connected. So we are extremely sophisticated in how we approach life change and self-change. We're doing it from within. If we learn this language, we start to change automatically.
Absolutely.
Let me repeat that. Let me
Yes.
repeat that. If we develop an appropriate language, the language like language of conceptuality, we learn to think appropriately, learn to talk appropriately, we learn to be appropriately. Why? Because we don't want to be phonies and liars. So what we say, we make real. Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
as much
Yes.
as that is actually possible, we can't make impossible things happen. There's limits to this. But when it comes to ourselves, there we do have the power to change ourselves, right? I may not have the power to say, well, I'm going to have a Ferrari tomorrow. And like a lot of people think this is, it's technically possible, but you have to have lots and lots of power because you have to rearrange the entire universe to give you that. You don't have enough energy and power for that. But when it comes to yourself, you do. You do.
Yes.
And this is absolutely key in what we're doing. We are going to be sharing these practical tools for deliberate living, for bringing moreness into your life, bringing fun into your life, bringing joy into your life, bringing tools that you can use that make life easier, more fluid, and get you to that point where, oh, I get it now, right? It's all about application. So ADU, awareness, discernment, you come to understanding. When you understand, you can apply.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
You can apply.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for
Wonderful.
sharing, because this is going to be a regular thing, and you guys can of course meet us next week, and we are going to do that. Before going of course, we are wrapping it up now. I always say that if you find this video valuable, if you just hear something and you find that, okay, this is interesting, please do pay attention, because attention is the real currency nowadays, because we are living in a world where attention is the real value, real currency. Please do pay attention to your offline and online algorithm, because you are going to train them at what type of value you want in your life. This is real key to have really moreness life and also peaceful life. If you don't want to overwhelm by the nonsense, please do pay attention to things which make sense to you, which seem like that, okay, they are valuable to you. So it is just a game of the focus and the emphasis. Please try to do that, because by doing so, you are going to train your online algorithm that you are making deliberate choices of expecting value. And it is not limited to us only, of course, wherever you will find value, because your online algorithm is also connected to your offline algorithm, your life algorithm.
To your life algorithm. Yes. This is so key. So key. So make sure to share and connect and pass the word on to others. Like Beena says, when you're sharing something and you're telling your friends, wow, this, you are in your brain, you are saying, this is important. You're emphasizing it. And when you emphasize things, you literally change your brain. Let me repeat that.
Exactly.
When you emphasize things, when you become immersed in things, you literally rewire your brain. So this is very, very key to really pay that attention, that puts energy behind it, puts emphasis behind it. It very much changes.
Every deliberate choice is the first step towards the moreness life.
Exactly.
Yes.
What a wonderful quote. Every deliberate choice is a step towards moreness and moreness-living. Fantastic quote, Beena. That's another thing we do deliberately. We learn to self-quote. It's part of Way-of-Impeccability. See, everything we do, there's layeredness to it. There's a moreness to it. There's depth to it. We don't just do things idly like that. Learning to quote yourself. You need to be your own authority, right? Not just listening to other people's stuff. You want to be able to do this to yourself. So it's a wonderful quote, a wonderful quote. All right, we said 30 seconds, I think more than 30 seconds ago. So I'm not sure if we're done. I'm waiting to see the little ad block come up. By the way, Beena, I enjoyed the ad that was played. There was a little moreness story in that ad. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh,
that made me happy. That made me happy to see. So
thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the team also that, you help us to go through. This was our first show. Okay, we do lives, but our lives is our own ground. We play really freely there. And this is wonderful to be here. Thank you so much, Syl.
Yeah, it's more structured. It's more focused. I don't know if we wrapped or not because we're still on the Zoom here. And the producer said 30 seconds, but that was more than 30 seconds ago. So I'm just assuming that when the wrap comes, we'll see the commercial come up. We'll see it comes up for us earlier. So we'll pay attention to that. Oh, my green screen is deciding that is like saying, hurry up now. We got to end. I'm going to fade. That's interesting.
Everyone,
it was fine all this time.
Right. Okay. Bye for now.
This has been The Moreness Show with Syl and Beena. tune in each week as they focus on bringing joy and peace of being to us all. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Bold, Brave TV network. Powered by B2 Studios.